Speaking of a person on, I can't even make the transition, a person on barbecue. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I had to watch because also it was only 20 minutes long if you recorded it and took out the commercials. But Braun Strowman, the former WWE giant, he's got a new show on USA Network. Have you heard about this? Everything on the Menu with Braun Strowman.
I've seen commercials for it, and I actually saw a few minutes of it because it aired. It must have been after SmackDown one day, and I still had the TV on, and I got to see, it must have been SmackDown, and I got to see a few minutes of it, and yeah, I was a little surprised because we didn't hear about this being a WWE thing, and WWE released him, and it's a WWE name that he's using. So that's the big surprise there, but what did you think of the show?
Well, I think I may know some of the reasoning behind it because they shot this when he was still with the WWE. You know, sometimes they pre-tape either the reality shows or whatever. They're taped months before they actually air. That's the fucking one of the ribs about this program to me. And I'm not going to knock him. I mean, he's a very personable fellow. And this show, well, hold more on that in a minute, though. The show is a basic, if it's something that would be on the Food Network, or it would be Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, or it would be, Man versus Food, where the host goes to a town. They take him to a few restaurants with the camera crew. You see the ambiance inside, a little bit of the history of the place, whatever. They talk to the chef, go in the kitchen, put the food over, then they sit down and either they just try it, or if it's like eat a lot, they eat it, or whatever the fuck, right? Standard Food Network type of show. Very well done. Nice, peppy editing. 22 minutes with no commercials, so it's not too long. He's a very talkative fellow. Then I've said before, his problem is in wrestling and they started paying him so much money, he just wasn't worth that. There's a reason why that Andre traveled the globe, because if you saw Andre every goddamn show for a long time, you kind of seen it. This guy is not a great wrestler. He's got a great personality, but they hadn't really booked him interestingly. And so if you could only see him every once in a while, if I was him, I'd have pitched him, just fuck, give me, a little money for 10 dates a year and I'll come in and do whatever the fuck, but otherwise I'll do my own shit. But the USA Network obviously thought that they were getting a WWE personality because that's all they talk about on the first show. I watched the first episode that did, by the way, 400 and something. It did the ratings of a normal Dynamite these days. After SmackDown the first week, and then I think it's dropped since then.
Where did he eat? Where was he eating when you saw the episode?
It was in Texas, Angelo's Barbecue, and oh goddamn, I didn't even write it down, but a fancy restaurant that I'd not heard of that looked like they just had wonderful food, but the pork chop was $50. So one kind of barbecue place and the other kind of fancy upscale place. But point being, they introduced it. They were in Fort Worth, Texas, because he was there for SmackDown. And they had shots of the building in SmackDown is full, and so is the restaurant, and blah, blah. They all through the show, he identified himself as the great reason, or the great thing about me being a WWE wrestler is I get to travel around and see these places and go to these restaurants. And after they'd come back from every break, they would show some WWE clip or whatever the fuck, and we're in town for SmackDown. So they thought they were getting a tie-in. By the time that he gets on the air, he's not there. That's what I'm like, what the fuck? They really must not have wanted to keep him.
That is weird because they would know this show was in the can. and they still
Well,
got rid of
it
him.
was all in because it was obviously done in cooperation with them. But how long has he been gone now? When did they cut him?
Geez, I don't remember. It has to be
Yeah,
right after
whenever it.
WrestleMania, maybe, if I had to guess.
Okay, well, this was done late last year, early this year, and he didn't know. Apparently, they didn't tell USA. Whatever the case, but so anyway, back to the show itself. Nothing wrong with it. He does a good job. That's what I'm saying is we didn't want to see him wrestle all the time, but it doesn't mean he's a horrible personality. But it's misleading. He orders everything on the menu. You do not see him eat everything on the menu. Can you?
What do you? Well, so,
And they've made it.
What do you mean? What do you see him eat?
Well, at the first place he went, the barbecue place, they just fed him the brisket and he loved over that and talked about it. He did a regular Food Network type interview with the people there. And then he went over to the fancy place. He said, I'm just gonna have everything on and they bring him out everything. He's sitting at the table and he's tasting each thing while they have the close-ups. Somebody paid some fucking money to get to this. I think this fancy place was like, oh yeah, we'll goddamn do something to. But they lingering close-ups of the food as he tastes everything. And I'm thinking he better get started because he's got 2 minutes to eat a whole table full of food. And that's when he said, well, I got a lot to do. I got a lot to eat here. See you next time. And he starts like he's going to dig in, and that's the end. And I'm like, motherfucker, I want to see some Kobayashi shit going on with these goddamn $50 pork chops. So I don't doubt that he can eat a ton of food, but he did not. And I don't even know if any of the competitive eaters can. If you ordered a full dinner of everything on the menu, because they brought the plates with all the sides and all the shit and everything, I don't know if that's possible in a restaurant with any kind of variety, but it's misleading. He orders everything on the menu, but he doesn't eat everything on the fucking menu, Brian.
I was thinking about it recently because obviously CNN for years had Anthony Bourdain and his show, which became pretty popular. And since he passed, it's like this really stupid trend. Because I think he was a personality people liked. It wasn't like, the concept's great. It was him. Like, it was him and the concept. But like, they have celebrities, like, do shows where they travel and try food. And I don't know if there's any audience for this. They did Stanley Tucci going to Italy to passively eat food in every place. It was the most boring show. They caught me one night.
I think I've seen a clip of that. Yes.
Yeah, it made me hungry when I saw like some of that Italian food. And then they did Eva Longoria going to Spain, and I'm seeing all these commercials. I'm like, who is watching this? And now it's Tony Shalhoub, the guy who played Monk, doing a mini series about bread, where he goes to different places and you'll never guess it, eats bread. Again, I don't know why any of that's on CNN, and I don't know what the market is for that, for just kind of celebrities randomly doing shows where they travel and eat, but maybe that's what they thought they were doing with Braun Strowman here. Again, Swerve, he's no longer Braun Strowman, he's now Braun Mountbatten Windsor is his new name.
Well, no. That's the thing. The WWE had to have signed off on all of this because they are calling him Braun Strowman, or he's acknowledging that he was Braun Strowman. They have the WWE footage. His real name is used also, but I'm almost positive if there was even any talk of, hey, we can't do USA can't air this show because we fired this guy. I'm sure the USA Network told him, motherfuckers, we've sent these camera crews out and paid for these $50 pork chops and all of whatever the fuck, right? And shot all this footage, put this show together. Fuck you. It's going to air. whether he's there or not, and we're going to act like he's there. They may transition away from it as the show continues for however long it may continue. I understand the first episode that aired after SmackDown did, as I said, 400 and something, and then a second episode aired at 10:30 right after that and dropped to 200 and something thousand. I don't know if this concept has legs, but you can tell that WWE was not about to tell USA, don't, just go ahead. Tell him he's with the WWE, whatever you need to do to get out of this show.
The fact that there isn't footage, from what you saw of just him gorging himself on food, which is kind of what you think it would be, makes you wonder how much time was it. Like, does he hate food? Is he like one of these big bodybuilders that actually doesn't like to eat a lot of stuff?
He ate over. I mean, he ate with convincing gusto the samples that were set in front of him and put them over, and he knows a little bit about the terminology. Oh, this sauce is spicy, but doesn't overpower the taste of the testicles, whatever the case. But it wasn't like, any kind of competitive situation where I was expecting, is he going to the Big Texan in Amarillo, the 72-ounce steak dinner or whatever? But
yeah, that's kind of where I thought it was going to go too when you said he was in Texas.
they need, what? Klondike Bill came along 40 years too soon. Well, maybe 60 years too soon, but a lot of years too soon. If there was a Klondike Bill now, it's because he would be with whatever the Turner Company was, so they'd be able to get him on reality television. Then you'd see some goddamn eating. Brian, do the kids remember Klondike Bill? And have I told the story about Klondike Bill and the Big Texan Steak Ranch?
It's a famous story, and you've told it definitely in the past, but it may be years at this point. We certainly have a lot of new listeners who may not be aware of who he is.
I'll make reference to it, and then I will tell another one or two. But at the Big Texan Steak Ranch in Amarillo is on the side of Interstate 40, and they've been on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, or one of those programs. It's a big tourist thing. They sell all the gimmicks. They got all the pictures. It's West Texas. You can get the cowboy hat, blah, blah, blah. But it's also a steak restaurant. It's been there for 60 or 70 years or whatever the fuck it is. And they have a contest if you can eat the 72-ounce steak dinner. That's a 72-ounce steak, baked potato, salad, rolled butter, and shrimp cocktail. You eat the whole thing in an hour, you get it for free. And over the years, this has been going on for 60 years. Thousands of people have actually done it, but, multiple thousands of those have tried. But Klondike Bill, my old friend, when he was there in the early 60s, I think he's still up on their wall. Last time I was there, he was. In 1962 or whatever, he took the challenge, ate the dinner, within an hour, got it for free, and then asked for another one and ate that too. And he's on the wall for being the only guy to ever eat two of them. But when he was in the Carolinas back in the 60s again for old man Crockett, Jim Crockett Sr., on Wednesdays, they'd go to Raleigh and then they'd travel the state highway, him and guys like Johnny Heidemann and those old timers. And there was a family buffet in one of the small towns between Charlotte and Raleigh. And the boys found it, and Klondike Bill and his car started going in there every Wednesday afternoon. They started, it was all you can eat buffet. This is 1966 or whatever. Was it $1.99? All you can eat, $1.99. Bill and them's come by for a few weeks. The signs, all you can eat, $2.99. They still keep going. All you can eat, $3.99. They still keep going. Finally, there's a sign, all you can eat, $1.99, no wrestlers. But he was the real fucking deal. And he was a strong man in his youth. And he was like 5'9", but he wrestled at 320 pounds or whatever. He's built like a barrel. but he was legendary. He was the real thing. He didn't have to. He didn't look like Braun Strongman, but he could carry the part off, the Alaskan strongman.
I got to eat at the Big Texan one time when I was in Amarillo. It was me, Harry White, Bob Barnett, and Scott Cornish, the afternoon of the Terry Funk versus Bret Hart match.
And
And his picture was on the wall. We saw Klondike Bill's picture on the wall.
there, did you also see the big stuffed bison head
Yeah, of course.
that's on the wall there right above the door when you come in and next to the
Yeah.
game machine and everything? I have a picture, a profile picture of Bobby Eaton standing under that, turned to the side, because we made fun of this. Stan started just ribbing Bobby that his head was so big he had a bison head. And he started calling him Bison Eaton and in the matches. And he'd go, Bison, give me the tag, whatever. And we walked in there and I took a picture of Bobby standing under his like family tree thing. There's the bison head off the wall and Bobby's similarity underneath it.